Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to use a plugin that I created for Unity. This plugin allows you to identify a location on the Earth and then import a terrain based on the topology of that location. I created this plugin because I wanted to be able to model ski slopes from different areas in my Unity software, and I didn't want to have to use all the clunky and awkward different tools that you have to use to create a height map and then put it into a terrain and so forth. So this tool makes it easy with one click of the button to do all of that. In this video I'm going to model one of my favorite ski slopes, which is the Thanes Run in Park City, Utah. And so what I will do first is I will show you that ski run in Google's SketchUp app so that you get a chance to see the terrain. And then I will show you using Google Earth how to locate the longitude and latitude of a location if you don't know what they are. And then finally I'll show you how to actually use the plugin itself. When we first start SketchUp, it looks something like this. So the first thing you want to do is get rid of this image of this woman here. She'd just be in the way. And then if you click on this, this allows you to add a location. And so it brings up an image of the Earth. I've already selected the area that I want to go to here. And so I'll just zoom in on that area. Okay, and here is the Thanes Run and the Thanes Lift in Park City, Utah. I'll back out just a little bit here, and then I'll select a region. Now I'm going to kind of close in a little bit on the area that I want to look at, and I'll click the grab button up here. Now I can come over here and I can look at this thing in terms of a terrain, and we see that we're looking at kind of the underside here, so I'll tip it a little bit and turn it a little bit here so you can see the terrain. You can see that this is the actual slope here that I'm interested in, is right down here. And so this is kind of what the terrain looks like. Now I'm going to show you how to find the longitude and latitude of a place if you don't know what that longitude and latitude is, but you know where the place is. Here I have Google Earth open, and I'll click on the Thanes Run that I've pre-selected, and we'll see it'll zoom in on that run. If you didn't know where it was, you could just go ahead and zoom in yourself. And you see this is the same view basically that we saw in SketchUp. If I wanted to know what the longitude and latitude of this location is, one way to do that is you can click on this button here and it'll show you what the longitude and latitude is. You can move that around and it'll give you the actual coordinates there. Here we are in a test project in Unity, and if you've installed the DLL for the plugin, then when you go to Game Object, Create Other, down here at the bottom you'll see Terrain Based on Location. So we'll click on that, and then you'll get this little pop-up window. I've input the coordinates that we just saw on Google Earth, and so you'll see that I have a longitude of 11 degrees 32 minutes 6 seconds west, and then a latitude of 40 degrees 37 minutes and 24.43 seconds north. When you first run this thing, the defaults will be for the longitude and latitude of Mount Fuji in Japan, so you can generate that just for fun if you want to see that. The longitude and latitude are the center point of the terrain, and the distance to the edge is how far north, south, east, and west from this center point the plugin will go to create the terrain. This maximum number of samples is the number of samples that the plugin will query from the Google Elevation API. The Google Elevation API has some usage limits for free customers, so you can create more samples if you want, but what happens is as the plugin tries to query those sample locations from the Google API will eventually reject some of the queries, and then the plugin will have to wait a few seconds before it can re-query. The Google API prevents you from doing too many queries at once. And so the plugin will continue to retry that until it's able to get all the samples that it needs. The maximum number of samples, this is a maximum number, it's an approximation. What the plugin will do is basically take the square root of this number and create that many rows and columns, but it'll be the nearest whole number that's the square root of this number. The height map resolution is the same as you'll see in the inspector. In fact, the rest of these different parameters are the parameters that you'll see in the terrain inspector window. And then logging allows us to see what the queries are that we're sending to the Google API, as well as the responses that we're getting. This can be helpful for debugging if you're interested, and you'll see that in the window, in the console window here, which you can find here. So we'll clear that out, and we'll go ahead and create the terrain at this point by clicking this button. You'll see that this takes a few seconds as it has to go out and query the API, and there we go. And here are the requests that we've issued to the Google API, and then the results are JSON results here, and the plugin of course parses through all that for you, so you don't have to worry about that. And you'll see that this is the terrain that we generated here. We've used only 1024 maximum samples. You can use more if you want. It'll take a little bit longer as the Google API will time out and you'll have to wait for it. I've tested up to a little over, well, 8K of samples, and that seems to work. You can try more if you want. It's just bound to take a little bit longer. But you can see that this terrain looks pretty much just like the terrain that we saw in the SketchUp app. And we can see over here, we can look at the inspector and we can see the values over here, that these are the values we input. The terrain width and length is 513, of course, as we input. The terrain height, actually the plugin will scale the terrain height based on the distance of the width and the length, and then how high the elevation is. So this will get scaled automatically for you to the correct number. And then these other values are the values that we input there. If we decided we wanted to create a different terrain, we could run the plugin again. You'll see that it retains the values from the previous generation. So that's about it. That's all there is to creating a terrain based on a location. I hope it's helpful to you, and I hope you have fun playing with this in Unity.